Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, it's the half-time report for April, and I've got to be honest, I'm really surprised at how much I've been enjoying using the Jinhao pens. Really good idea to focus on the pens from one manufacturer this month. So join me now and we'll discuss how I've been getting on with these pens, and I'll also provide a brief answer to a question that I've been asked in previous comments. So, month of Jinhao, it's been going really well. So far, I've actually filled a number of these pens multiple times already. But let's just take a quick look. Let's see how I've been getting on. The first pen is this, the Jinhao 35. Really thin pen. Goes to that black look all the way through though. Been really enjoying using this. Problem is, bit on the thin side, it does cause a little bit of ache in my hands, especially around here. But I get that with all the small pens that I use. The next pen, again, we're going for that black look. This is by Jinhao, obviously, and this is the Jinhao X750. It's another cheap pen. I think it was about $6 when I bought it. It's got a number 6 nib. It's in silver. I've got in here Noodler's Navajo Turquoise. I really love it, really enjoying it. It's a beautiful bright blue ink, and I see some nice shading coming through as well. My third pen of the month, here we go. This is a Jinhao 159, and it's in the silver finish. Nice fat pen. This one's comfy to hold. I've not had any issues with it. It doesn't make my hand ache. In there, I've got Diamine Oxblood, which is a really vibrant, blood-coloured. I think Oxblood's a good term for it. I really enjoy that. It's a nice ink. I've filled it 3 times so far. That's how much I've been using that ink. My fourth pen is a Jinhao 100 Centennial in the Meteorite pattern. In here, I've got Robert Oster Cosmic Swirl. Again, it's a nice ink, it's a nice colour. Really enjoy using that one as well. It's nice using that purple colour. It's something which is unusual. It stands out from the crowd. Sorry, I know I keep looking down. I want to make sure I'm fetching the pens out in the right order. Next, we've got this. This is a Jinhao 200. Now, at the start of the month, I don't know why, but I thought this was a medium nib. It's not. It's a fine. It's another thin pen. That fine nib though writes really nicely. I've got in here Diamine Tobacco Sunburst. I don't know if you can see, there's not a lot left in there. Because it's a fine nib, I haven't had to change this one as much. But it's still one that I've used, once it comes into rotation, but also I've reached for it when I want that finer line. My sixth pen. I'm really not happy with this pen. This is a Jinhao 9056. I love this wooden colour. It's so nice. It's just the nib dries out so quickly. What I've already done this month is I've recorded a video which won't come out, I think it's sometime in May it'll come out, where I changed the nib. So I changed the nib from the Jinhao nib that came with it to one which I got from Kiwi Pens, and it was actually a freebie from them. The point on that was so fine that I just didn't like it. So the video shows me putting that nib in. It shows me trying it out a little bit. Then a couple of days later, I changed the nib again, not on video this time. So what I've got in here, again from Kiwi Pens, is I've got a cursive italic nib. Now hopefully if I can get this into the focal point, there we go. That should hopefully come up. It's been an interesting experiment. I'm still getting the issues, which we'll cover more on the end of the month. But it's been worth trying, and I actually like the cursive italic nib, although it's got some issues of its own. Again, we'll talk about them later. I've also introduced 2 additional pens into this month's rotation. This one here, this is another Jinhao 159. But in here, I've got a Conklin broad nib. See if I can again get this There we go. The problem I've got here is my camera preview. It's reversed. So when I think I'm going one direction, on the camera preview, I'm going the other. Why I've got that in there, I took it out of this. This is a Jinhao All-American. I know, very similar to the 9056, isn't it? It's a broad nib. The problem I was having in this All-American, the nib was drying out really, really quickly. If I put the pen down and didn't use it for an hour, when I would come back, the nib just would not write. I ended up having to prime the feed just to get it to start writing again. So it wasn't really working out for me. What I did, let me just take this cap off. So what I did is I took the nib and the feed out of here and put it into that 159 and put the nib and feed from the 159 into here. So this is a medium Jinhao nib. I will be honest, both the pens now write quite nicely. So I'm wondering if the issue was that the nib was just too wide, so that with it having that wooden cap, it dries out. I mean, there's no nib liner in there. So I think that was the way that the wood naturally breathes. This Conklin, this is, I've got to be honest, it's the worst pen I've ever had. When it writes, it's beautiful. Getting it to write has always been a problem. Now I've got this medium nib in here, it's not as bad. But I've got another issue with it. Let me just turn this round. The body, this wooden bit, has come unstuck from the fittings. So there's the fitting coming off. I don't know, maybe I was just unlucky, but I've had nothing but problems with this Conklin pen. And it's got to the stage where I don't really want to buy another Conklin, but I want to get another one just to see if the issue is with it being wood. I'd love to get a Durograph or something like that to give that a try. But yeah, terrible this. I know what the problem is. There's a little bit of glue here. It's only a tiny little bit of glue. That, I don't know if it's with the heat causing the wood to expand and contract, but that seal, that glue broke. So what I'm going to do is, after I've done this video, I'm going to pop some glue. I'm going to see if I can get all the way around it this time. Then re-stick that back on there, and hopefully that will then solve the problem long term. The other pen that I brought into this month's rotation, you'd have seen an unboxing earlier in the month, is this one. This is the Jinhao X450. Now, when I did the unboxing, I had Diamine Royal Blue in here. Since then, I've finished that fill. I've now got Diamine Eau de Nil, which is quite a nice colour match for the actual body. I'm quite liking that in there. So, yeah, been an interesting time. Now, let me just change up my notes. You may notice I keep looking to the side every so often. That's where my notes are for this video. I don't script my videos, but I like to have a set of notes that I follow. It's one of the things from my productivity channel that I tell people. When you're thinking about things, your brain, that's not there to hold information. That's there to think about things. Everything is written down, so I don't have to worry about remembering anything. And for me, it works really well. So a question I was asked in the comments, what do I look for in a pen and ink combo? Well, it's a simple-ish answer. I look for colours. I look for things that are unusual about a pen. I do like demonstrators, although this month there aren't any demonstrators. I like to see the ink sloshing around. I think that looks so nice, especially when you're using coloured inks. In terms of nib size, when I first started collecting about 2 years ago, I was going for fine. I was going for extra fine nibs, which are nice, but my tastes, they've been developing, and it could be eventually I'll go back to fine and extra fine because your tastes develop all the time, don't they? But at the moment, I'm finding that I like the broad. I like the extra broad. I'll go for medium. A lot of mediums are quite nice, but I'm going for those wider nibs. You know, stub nibs, that cursive italic. I'm finding by going for those wider nibs, they give me some more interest when I'm doing my writing. And that's one of the things I like to see, is I like to see the interest. I like to see the character. Same with an ink match. I like to try and match the ink to the colour of the pen. As I said with this X450, I started the month with Diamine Royal Blue. Nice, and it's a darker blue colour. But then when I refilled it, I went for Eau de Nil, so it does match roughly the colour. Another example is here with the Jinhao 159. Now, I didn't say the ink earlier on, but in here is Diamine Sargasso Sea. I've got to be honest, that Sargasso Sea and also Mon Bordeaux's hat, they're two inks I really struggle with because I keep wanting to say the names different ways around. So in my videos, you may hear them pronounced all sorts of ways, but I try as much as I can to stick to the right spelling. When I'm looking at a pen, I look for the confidence in the hand. So here, when I said about the Jinhao 35, it was a cheap pen. That does factor in, but it's very thin. If we look at some of the more expensive pens that I get, then with those, they tend to be wider pens so that they're more comfortable to hold. So that fit in my hand, the way it feels, again, it's important to me. I don't like posting pens, so again, I look for pens that have got that bit of length. So it's not a real easy question. I like to have lots of different things because as part of doing this channel, I like to be able to compare them. Again, coming back to the inks, as I said, I like to go for colour matches, apart from when I don't. Prime example this month, I've got that Oxblood in this 159, really deep, crimsony, gorgeous blood-coloured ink in a bright silver pen. One of the things I am struggling with, again, staying with inks, I've got lots of Diamine inks. I would say I've got more Diamine inks than all the rest of my inks put together. And I do tend to gravitate towards those Diamine inks when I'm choosing my colours. So one thing I do make myself do, certainly with my pens for each month, is I try to limit the number of Diamine inks that I use to 2. Otherwise, I've got to be honest, none of the other inks would get a look in. I've got loads of different inks that I need to try out. I've well over 50 ink samples to try. All different colours. So I've got some yellows, I've got some browns, I've got blues, reds, purples, the whole range. I don't use them as often as I should do. And that's again because I do like them Diamine inks so much. So that's something I'm trying to make myself move away from to experience different inks. So I hope that's answered that question. So other things I've been thinking about this month, I'm toying with the idea of setting up a Patreon. I did look at YouTube memberships, but I've got to be honest, YouTube memberships, 30% of that goes to YouTube, and I think that's wrong. To me, that's too much. But anyway, I've been looking at Patreon. Why I want to do this is I want to look at doing a third video each week. In the past, I used to do my fountain pen showdown videos, which is where I would compare 2 pens against each other so I could do a deeper dive into each of the pens. What I want to do is change that so I'm only looking at 1 pen in each one, still giving it the scores so we can still come up with a ranking, which will then be recorded, and it's available now on the YouTube community page. There's a link to the spreadsheet where I keep my rankings from each of these videos. So this is something I'm toying with doing, most probably to be released on a Sunday, where I'll be aiming for 10 to 15 minutes, focusing deeper on 1 pen and exploring that pen in a bit more detail. But obviously, it's going to be a struggle because that means I need more pens to try it with. I've got quite a few pens already, and this is where I'm thinking with a Patreon, because that will help towards that cost of buying all these other pens. I don't want to end up just doing all Chinese pens. I want to explore the whole gamut. Why I'm looking at Patreon is it lets me do different levels. So you can have, a $1 a month, I believe, all the way up to an unlimited number of dollars per month. So what I'm looking at is how I can use that and have, separate tiers. And in those tiers, I'll have things like one tier may have early access to my videos. I generally upload my videos 2 to 3 days before they actually go live, so I could give early access to them. I'm thinking about maybe doing either a weekly or a fortnightly update, which is something that I could do for members only or Patreons only. I'm thinking of doing a Slack channel. I love Slack. I know a lot of people like Discord. I like Slack. That's my preferred communication tool. So I'm thinking about setting up a Slack team so we can have that dedicated to the channel, so we can hopefully get some more in-depth conversation than what we get through the YouTube comments. Other things I'm thinking about is maybe having a perk or whatever they call it on Patreon, where once a quarter I might be able to give people at one of the higher levels, we might set up for a half hour or a 1 hour video chat, something like that. Other things I'd like to try on there is live streams. Can I live stream certain things with my pens? And that would be exclusive content if I live stream it on Patreon. That wouldn't go out to the YouTube channel. So there's all these things that I'm playing around with. I'd love to get your ideas, your thoughts on this. Please drop a comment down below. What do you think to the idea of a Patreon? Is it something you'd be interested in joining? Lastly, what's going to be coming up for the next month? So, looking at my notes, well, I've got some unboxings for you. The first one is this one. This is the Narwhal 365 Anniversary Edition for 2021. This is in Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 3.5. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick view here. This pen, wow, it's absolutely gorgeous. Really is. I held off a long time before getting this, so I could only get a medium nib. But wow, this is so pretty. Another pen I'll be doing an unboxing of. We're going to a different end now. This is a Mahjong A1. Get this way. This is one of those clicky pens. Let's see if I can get it up there. There we go. So I believe it's a copy or a clone of a Pilot Vanishing Point. My brain just went slightly dead then. And then the third pen we'll be doing a first impressions of is this. This is an Italian pen by Tibaldi. And this is a Bononia. And it's the Bora colour. Beautiful pen, really nice. Lovely spaghetti type pattern on there. So we'll go into more details of that when we do our first impressions. Also coming up, I'm going to be taking a look at the paper issues that I had. So if you watched my pens in use for April, you'd have noticed I had major issues with the paper. It was feathering, it was showing through, and I normally don't get that on Oxford optic paper. So I've got a video, it'll be coming out in May, where I'm looking at that, looking at the issue, what's causing it. I think I know what's causing it now. And then I'm going to be trying out the pens on some different papers so we can actually compare very quickly the pens on different papers. It's not going to be an in-depth review of each paper. It's literally just a quick look so you can get an idea of how the pens are working, especially after we've had the hot summer we've had here in Australia, which, slight spoiler, is what I think has caused the paper issue. And then another video that I've done, it's already recorded. I'm going to be taking a more in-depth look at some inks. I'm going to be looking at Diamine Jack Frost and Pure Pen's John Frost. So the two Frost brothers, we'll be comparing them against each other. I enjoyed doing that. It was actually nice to see the differences between the two inks, especially when, although they're sold by different people, the Pure Pen's one is actually made for them by Diamine. Next month's theme, I've got that locked in. Next month's theme, it's called That's Fishy. There's something for you to think about. What pens could I be using that will fit into that theme? That's fishy. I've hoped you've enjoyed today's video. Please drop any comments down below. I'd love getting comments. I'd like to be able to respond. Again, one of the reasons why I want to go for that Slack channel, because I think that'll give me more chance to get more responses going. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Well, it just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.